I want to know, what would you change with how Supercross operates? You pick one thing and try not to answer what other people answer. So let's start over here with Cam.
Okay, I'll go first. Aside from the obvious of, if there's one thing you could change, just let me film on the dirt.
I wouldn't change that.
That would be
actually.
great.
Keep
Okay.
the riffraff out.
No, so no, but actually, I think we need to fix the merch and jersey thing.
Yeah.
I
don't think
riders need to be able to. I don't care if whoever puts on these things takes a percentage, whatever.
See,
But
the art, yeah.
don't take 90% and let freaking people sell their merch. It is absolutely ridiculous that we have the crappiest T-shirts ever being sold at Supercross. Of I don't even know what they are. It just drives me crazy.
Yeah.
It makes the sport look lame.
It looks awful, and I don't think it's that. It's not just that they would have to take such a percentage. It's that the companies don't care. They're passing whatever that is on to the consumer. I think they're saying, well, we'd have to charge $300 for one of these jerseys to make it worth it because of all the percentages going out. We're saying, as the fans, I'll pay $300 for a jersey.
Yeah, okay, so number 2. That brings me to my second point.
All right. Interesting take on one thing.
Well, that's
Just
just all I have
kidding.
just period. That needs, in my opinion,
now
needs to change.
What's your third thing now?
No, this is the second thing.
You said 3 things.
No, the second thing is back to the jersey thing. You go to any other sport, what's happening? You got people wearing jerseys.
In the stands, yeah.
The fact, I don't care what the legal money battle is to where we don't have, why does I get the gear changes all the time or whatever. Except for Marvin Moose cans. But
That's the only guy who switched brands,
the same.
and no one noticed. We were at Straight Rhythm, and we finished, and I was like, what'd you think of
that's O'Neal.
What'd you think of him in his O'Neal gear? He's like, oh, that's O'Neal? Looks exactly the same.
But, I'm not saying take the creativity about jerseys being different, but we gotta sell riders jerseys, dude. That's crazy that we don't do that.
A mentality thing has to change about the fan base of the sport.
Right.
But you're ridiculed if you wear a jersey.
Right.
And that's a lame thing.
And the people who are
stupid.
The people who are who want to do it
should be
it's so
encouraged.
Dumb. It's so dumb.
That's the issue. We don't have them. So right now, you see dudes in jerseys wearing their Honda Fox jersey from 20 years ago at the races.
That
you know
is
what I
a
mean?
good
That's
point.
the problem.
That's true.
But
if you could go out and buy a Chase Sexton jersey, an Eli Tomac jersey, everyone in the grandstands would have them.
Yeah.
Yeah, why isn't Jet on his website for these drops selling 100 limited edition jerseys for
Alpine
$500
Stars,
each?
No idea. That would make sense, but also doesn't need to be $500 a piece.
Yeah,
you can go buy a Tom Brady jersey for $50.
Yeah.
Right? Now, obviously, I get it. I don't know how, the issue is always going to be money, right? The reason it's not happening right now is money. I don't care. Make it work.
Yeah.
It is crazy. It's just we're holding the sport back from good merch, jerseys.
It's just money too. It's just money.
It is.
Should I go back
crazy.
to selling Catanzaro 330 jerseys on the website? Because they sold extremely well when we had them.
100%.
And encourage people to wear them to the rounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Let's not whine and complain about it. Let's just go do it.
Piggybacking
Except
off of
we
that,
can't sell it at the races.
what you said, on top of that, let the riders sell merch at the races.
Most dudes there
so dumb.
There are
barely squeaking
there
by,
are
dude.
workarounds to that. We could do it until we get reprimanded.
Exactly.
We could.
Well, not if we warn them we're gonna try.
No, they can order it online and pick it up at the races.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Therefore, you could have they can buy it online at the race.
That would be such a cool thing.
we
Just
could
we could just
in 1 hour.
So we could just have a
I'm gonna wear a Tom
bunch
Brady
of different size jerseys in stock
wear a
at
Catanzaro
Supercross. Who sells the most merch at a Supercross race if they're allowed to do it?
If they're allowed
That's
to,
probably an
Jet.
obvious.
Jet.
Yeah.
He already does.
exactly.
What about
somehow he
450
does
guys?
it. It's crazy.
Who do you think would sell the most?
450 guys. Who sells the most merch? Jason Anderson.
Justin Barsha.
Justin Barsha's a good answer.
Yeah, 100%.
Or Mookie.
Part of me just wants to say the guy winning, but
Mookie,
I don't
people
know.
would
If
wanna,
Mookie got the right,
people would want to support Mookie.
If he got some sick designs,
And he
my
would, 'cause he has
one
7.
thing, it's pretty simple, and I know there's logistics, but the one thing I would like to see change, because I think it would give us better racing as a whole, the idea of the 250 class is to feed them into the 450 class, okay? I want them, part of that to be, you got to be healthy for the whole 450 season. I want 3 showdown rounds, 250 East and West Coast showdown rounds. I want them at Anaheim 1. I want them at the halfway marker of the 450 season, and I want them at the finale.
Better yet,
That'd be
the
interesting.
250 class needs to be its own class. Did I say that already in this podcast?
You
Yeah.
said that, yeah.
It needs to be its own class for the whole season, not a regional championship. It needs to be a national
But I
world.
Would that be
understand
a
it
money
because
problem,
it's,
though?
but I
Like-
understand that because it's 40 more riders. So I understand that the best of the 80 get their shot at fighting for a 450 position.
Right. In a way,
So I don't know how you do that without doubling the class, because that kind of needs to be a thing, unless you run 2 separate 250 classes. One has an age cap, one doesn't, and that runs the whole series. So we have 3 main events in a night.
Well, so the issue, right, is that the model that we have feeding guys into the 450 class, as you said, it does work because there's more 250 guys that have a chance, right? Like if there's one 250 class,
Exactly what I just
it's going to be more prestigious, but it just becomes harder to get in there.
Yeah.
And it's like, what does that do, right? But the age thing would be
The age thing, I don't think should be a thing.
that would be kind of weird.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard to
Well,
say.
Shoot. I don't know. I'm hung up on this merch thing. I just want to go think about how.
We need to make jerseys.
How
But
many-
can I get
what
pushback,
jersey design they
like,
should do
on
and-
the at all? Like, I want you to disagree with me to try to poke holes in it, but I think 3 rounds. I think that I think what would be cool is after the first showdown round, then you get to decide which coast your racers are riding, because then if someone gets hurt, it's like they're out until the next coast. If someone does really good that you didn't think was going to do good, it's like, hey, you're racing this coast now. Keep it rolling. It makes the 250 riders be ready for A1. It makes them stay healthy until the middle of the season. It makes them be there at the end. And I think that would be a cool way to also gauge who's actually progressing through a season. Because when you jump back and forth between coasts and then have these showdown rounds, some 250 racers haven't seen a gate drop in quite a few weeks. And I think that would be the most accurate gauge of how these riders are doing over the course of a year.
It'd be a wicked cool way to do Triple Crown.
And
I'm there for
and
that.
A1 would be
Wow.
wild.
Dude,
to
can you
have-
imagine?
To have a
A1?
showdown A1, to have the top guys from both coasts going at it for the first round of the year. I think that would be the only way you could make Anaheim 1 better. Because Anaheim 1 is amazing.
Before I ask or say this, how do you feel about the speedway races?
They're fun.
I think there needs to be more of those.
I
think
feel
we
like we're
need to
kind of
do-
getting that with Super Motocross.
Yeah.
Okay, I was gonna bring that up next.
Oh, I forgot that.
Yeah,
we kinda
I think
should
we need to do
brush
more
on
at.
that real
We
quick.
need to do.
I don't really understand it still, so I can't brush on it.
Which is
And
What is
I
it
only
called?
say
Super
things
Duper
that I'm
Motocross?
100%
Super
confident
Duper
about.
Motocross.
Yeah, it's coming
what
out
it's called.
only on Sega Genesis this year.
Oh, can we just also say thank you for making all the races on Peacock this year, so we don't have to buy 4 subscriptions to
Oh,
watch
they are?
Supercross?
Yeah,
so
and it's
Peacock
not
the
even-
whole way through.
it's not even-
outdoors and Supercross.
That
Oh,
and what's
good.
amazing is that didn't even happen because like they won a bidding war. It's because like the mess of nationals this last year, they
my
were
God.
like, we're not doing it. It's literally because they fell apart. Peacock's like, all right, we'll show both indoors and outdoors.
Yeah, unreal.
Well, good.
Yeah,
Okay, what were you gonna
speedway
say?
races.
Yeah,
you want more of them?
100%. I think it's better for the fans. Just being in that stadium, like especially at those rounds that you were talking about, where the carbon monoxide poisoning, replace those rounds. Like have these big events
We
with
don't need to be-
fan experiences.
Indy
and-
would be cool.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
don't need to be in Minneapolis in February.
Right.
Like,
There's
we
no
just
reason.
Don't.
Stay
There
in the.
shouldn't be any rounds like that there's no pit thing, because what's the point of not having?
Yeah, it's
having
bad
a
for the
fan
sport.
base.
We're
It's
talking
terrible
about
for- yeah.
growing the sport, so
Yeah.
I think we need
If
to
there's
have
no
you
pits,
can't
we
meet
can't
the riders.
not sell merch.
yeah, bigger events. Yeah.
Yeah.
Were there any cold ones? Like, well, we had Detroit this year. Are we going to?
Detroit, Minneapolis was the coldest I've ever
Is
been
Minneapolis
in my
on the
life.
schedule again this year?
I
don't know.
hope not.
How was Denver?
Imagine
Was
doing a
Denver okay?
Supercross preview show.
The one time I
and
raced
not
Denver,
knowing
his
the
qualifying was
schedule.
in the snow.
Yeah, so get rid of those. There's no reason. I mean,
No, it's ridiculous.
But
Yeah.
there was okay, my answer. This is the
Is it the thing you've said 4 times now throughout the podcast?
no, this is a different one.
Okay, good.
I think there is slightly different. It's a variation of. There needs to be a legitimate feeding system that remains consistent to groom Supercross riders.
Okay.
There isn't one now. There was Supercross Futures for 1 year. I'm hearing it's going to be run differently this year. It was different
last
the year before that.
Yeah, it was different last year too.
It's been different every single year. They need to come up with a system to be able to have these guys race and earn their points that remains consistent. And then more importantly than that, the teams, the industry failed. Moto Academy needs to create a proper training system to teach people how to ride Supercross.
Yeah.
Not have these guys ride outdoors and then show up for a Supercross Futures race and only Chance Hymas and Ryder DiFrancesco have ever practiced whoops.
Yeah.
And everybody else out there is
Yeah.
trying to learn it at a Supercross race in front of the fans.
Yeah, Hayden Deegan this year, like what a leg up he already has.
He's been riding
on-
Supercross since he was on a 50, as he should.
Exactly.
And as everybody else should. But there needs to be tracks available and training facilities available to be able to do that, to learn it on a track that a 50 rider can ride, and then progress and progress and progress. It's a different sport, so you should have progression levels in that
Yeah.
specific sport.
So your second point is pretty self-explanatory, but I want to ask you, because on your first point of they need to do something different for futures or the feeding system, not the actual training and progression, but the feeding system itself, the official one where you score points at mini O's and stuff. Clearly, they're trying to do different things. Like they changed however the futures was run last year. With the younger riders would have their main event. I believe it was in the afternoon sometimes. I think they had one at the night show. They had a final. So what would you do different? Because it's easy to say, they got to come up with something. But do you have anything in mind that you would say, like, this is how the futures program should run?
The futures program should be at every single Supercross,
Okay.
and then that's how you earn your points, plain and simple.
Yeah.
Now, the biggest problem, though, is the training problem, and that the fact that
Right.
you go to that race and you're like, oh, Chance Hymas and whatever the heck his freaking last name is, are the only two clearly that have been practicing whoops, because nobody else knows how to go through the whoops.
Yeah.
AKA they have no experience in riding a Supercross track. So honestly, I think we will make the biggest impact in that, because a facility will be
Yeah.
created where that will happen. We will be creating riders that know how to ride a Supercross track, and that will change and make Supercross more accessible
Yeah.
for people actually in the
Yeah.
industry, because that's how you make money.
The fact that I'm
in the sport.
subscribed to the Moto Academy and I can go in there and literally watch tutorials how to hit Supercross bowl turns and whoops, and you hear out of these like facilities where their 250 guys are like, yeah, go do laps and go cycling, like that's there's not a whole lot of training. It's just like, yeah, just go do it. And it's like, that's why
Those
you
facilities
see,
will phase out or have to completely change the way that
Yeah.
they're doing it, because what we will create will change the way that it's done.
and I feel like
Yeah.
we talked about that, like the same at discussing windows for riders being able to win championships, like the way that facilities are run, the fact that we talked about Alden Baker coming into the sport at a time where it needed that correction. That it's like, no, you got to take everything else seriously, not just the racing. I feel like that window
was necessary
was
and
necessary,
it's gone.
and it worked, and clearly it's been proven, like amazing what he was able to do with all those championships and everything. But that window, unless you change what you're doing, I feel like that window is closing, and we're at the start of a bit of a renaissance. That, listen, it's not just about cycling, working out, and doing a lot of laps. It's, hey, who's making sure you're doing those laps correctly?
Who's going to win? The guy that's 20 years old that learned Supercross when he was 18, or the 20-year-old that learned Supercross when he was 4 years old?
Yeah.
And has been riding it his entire life.
Yeah.
It's just, and that's doable.
Yeah.
Because you're not tossing the 4-year-old on a Supercross track. You're tossing him on V1
Yeah.
of the Supercross track. And then he progresses to version 2, phase 3, and then the Supercross All-Star track, and then he's to the full thing. So he goes through 6 different progression levels of Supercross paths, which isn't impossible by any means.
Yeah.
You can absolutely
And I think
do
that's
that.
an interesting thing with the Hayden Deegan case specifically, is that on top of all the pressure that's already on that camp, that's one thing. That's another bit of pressure on top of that, because if this doesn't work, it kind of craps on that whole idea. And I'm not saying
the idea, but it's definitely, he better be freaking good at Supercross.
exactly,
or it's
because then all
you've been
those,
riding it your whole life, dude.
all
I mean,
those
I'm sure
guys
he's gonna be
that
good at it.
that just do bang out laps and cycle in that and didn't get on a Supercross till they're 18. It's like, see, it's not so easy. And it's like, but man, if he does come out swinging, which I mean, I won't speak for you guys, but I feel like he will. It's definitely going to shine a light on, like, all right.
Is he racing this year? Because we didn't talk about him at all.
No,
he's not,
no,
right?
no.
I believe I think he's
Outdoors?
doing futures rounds.
Okay.
Yes.
Because he didn't do that last year.
Yeah, he'll
like,
do that.
Like Di
Got it.
Francesco.
He'll get his points
So
this
it'll
year.
be interesting to see how good is he at whoops.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
better
we'll
be
see
good.
it this year. That'll be awesome.
All right, you guys. I feel like that was
So much
that's
more
our
to talk about,
Supercross
but
preview.
How long was that?
That was about an hour. That's
Look
pretty
at
good.
us go.
Yeah,
We know what we're freaking doing
we
over
banged
here.
it out.
None of our facts were right.
I have one last quick question.
Yeah.
Are you guys excited for Supercross?
Nope. If you guys are enjoying these podcast clips and you want to watch full episodes, you can subscribe at club.themotoacademy.com.